So what you're seeing here is someone who clearly doesn't know what they're doing since they're doing it for the first time. I'm very sick, and this project has taken me way too long. I had a job when I was like 18 back in 2019, and that was 5 years ago. And some random guy gave me this. Now, this is the makings of a Gandalf pipe. It's the proper wood so that you don't poison yourself. There are specific kinds that you have to use. I think this one is like apple or maple or something. I think the stripe in the middle is maple, and then the pieces on the outside are apple. He kind of did all the heavy bits as far as like gluing the stem together and bending it. And then I worked a little bit on the head, made those cuts that you can see now. But clearly it's still not finished, so I figured about 5 years later it's probably a good time to wrap that one up. Alright, if you come over to this corner, you can see all the fancy tools that I will have for this project. The pipe itself, of course, and really all I have to do with it is sand down all the corners. So I got a nice little inch belt sander here, very fancy, of course, and then a nice little Dremel tool for the finer details, such as like getting into little corners here and just working those in where the belt sander might not be able to fit. But now it's time to fill you in on all the mistakes on this project so far. The first one was drilling the bowl way too deep for someone who had never smoked at all. I expected to be packing way too much into this thing. The second one, because that bowl was too deep, when I drilled the stem hole, I nicked the corner. So to fix this, I'll have to make some little cap thing to go down at the bottom of the bowl, which simultaneously will make the hole centered and then also shallow it up a little bit. So the first step was going to be drilling out the little hole in the corner to be more centered so that when I filled it, it would be straight down. Then I had to drill out the little cap thing. The drill bit I had was way too large, but that was the only option. So that's what we went with. Not much to show you here, but the shower with all the smoke's pretty cool. So yeah. Then comes the fun part. Because that piece was too large because of the drill bit, I had to sand it all down one bit at a time. And this is the part where we speed up the footage, because if you just saw 20 minutes of this in 4K, even though that's nice, it would still be boring. Okay, I just lied actually. I forgot how much I already cut this down. That part is done, so we're moving on to the next. We are going to be sanding the bowl down now. Same difference, but on the whole piece itself. But the same thing is true. 20 minutes of sanding is 20 minutes of sanding, so I'll go ahead and skip over that for you as well. Look at that nice little bowl there. Yeah, nice and sanded. All done. Next, we move on to the stem. Pretty much the same thing is gonna happen. A lot of sanding, you guessed it. Get those nice angles down to curves. Real pipes have curves after all. Next, I have to drill out a hole to add the dowel to connect it to the bowl. Fun fact, the dowel is supposed to be metal, not whatever cheap pine comes from Home Depot. So that little part about poisoning myself still could happen. We really need to speed this video up. We're already at 3 minutes. There's so much footage left. So I clamped it overnight, glued the stem to the bowl, and this is the fun part. I had to make this little wedge piece to just form it all together, because the way I had cut it when I had first started this project ages ago was just horrible. So I had some material I had to fill back in there. Not optimal. You remember that little disc piece that we cut earlier? So yeah, I glued that in there too. It's actually oak, not apple, so hopefully I don't die. But who cares about any of that boring crap? I know what you're here for. It's the sanding montage. Are you ready? Did a little bit of this, I did a little bit of that, and a little bit of that, and then some of this, and then some of this, and then some of this. I have no idea what's going to be on the screen at this point. I am just ad-libbing all of this. And once we were done with the stem, we moved on to the bowl. So, more sanding. Yay. This is really it. This is 90% of the project. It's just sanding. I tried like 5 takes just now. I think this is the 5th one, just to try and say enough garbage to pass the time. These clips are already sped up to like 400%. So, yeah, we're just going to move on. You get the picture. It was at this point, dear viewer, I realized I had made a terrible mistake. Not to be confused with all the other terrible mistakes, but this one was new. So I decided to take a month-long break from this project. Thought I was done, and then looking more closely at the stem, it was all janky and uneven because I'd been doing it with a 1-inch belt sander instead of the full size. So I bought a full-size belt sander, and I'm going to be doing it lengthwise again to smooth it all out. I'm not going to do it in my own basement because I would get sawdust everywhere, again, in my camera, again, and then I would just have to sweep it up. So I'm going to do it outside instead. Let's do this. Oh, there's a bunch of deer going through my backyard right now. That's fun. You wanna see me sanding? I got sound. Anyways, this is the real sander here, baby. All right, Facebook Marketplace at $40. Never hurt a man. And while we're on, I promise, the final sanding montage, let me just talk for a moment about file sizes. The amount of sanding footage I have on my hard drive right now is absolutely obscene. A crime against humanity. The second I'm done this video and just delete it all, I'm gonna have about a terabyte of sanding. And I did it for you. I did it for you. I was thinking of you specifically when I was moving all hundreds of gigabytes of sanding footage. It's bad. One of the things in life they just don't tell kids is that if you set a 4K cinema camera up and you just point and shoot for 33 minutes straight, I mean, it's a lot of data, you know, and I don't know what to do with all that. So I'll just cut to the end and, you know, show you the good part. We'll call it there. So the problem with any new project is that I haven't done this before, and I'm going to get on the internet and Google how to do it. Problem is, you're going to find all these chats with a bunch of nerds who all give a completely different opinion. All right, so I look up what kind of oil do I coat my pipe with, and one guy over here is saying olive oil, which is a little sus. Some guy's saying sunflower seed oil or obsidian oil or crushed beeswax, and I'm out here looking for chunks of beeswax as if I'm not going to use it for this one project and then it's going to sit on a shelf for the next 5 years. But lo and behold, Home Depot has butcher block oil, which is a combination of carnauba oil, beeswax, and a bunch of other stuff, which was somehow the combination of all of those nerds' opinions, so everyone's happy. And the answer to your question is yes, I am scrubbing it with a coffee filter because on some other project I learned that they are lint-free rags and very cheap. And this is what it looks like. So freaking sexy. Look at that color pop. So what you're seeing here is someone who clearly doesn't know what they're doing, since they're doing it for the first time. And the first time happens to be very windy. Tried to get creative with it and maybe put my back to it, for starters. That did not work either. But lo, in the distance, I saw a small cottage. I did ask the owners if I could use it, and went over. And, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I guess, since the video is this long, I have to give you some sort of moral of the story. Let me think of one. Oh, here we go. You don't have to know everything about a particular genre of activity to enjoy it. I know nothing about smoking, clearly. This tobacco is completely dried out. It's like 9 months old. Apparently that's entirely wrong. And you know what? I don't care, because I'm not going to smoke that often. And I don't have time to worry about that crap. And then, you know, if you've got a project on the back burner like this one, you can have it for however long you want. There's no deadline. Definitely finish it eventually, especially if it's really something you want to get to. You know, just complete it. It doesn't matter if it's fancy or whatever. This video sucks in comparison to my other ones, let's be honest. There you go. There's 2 for free. Why does it suck every single time? The one thing I can do is talk forever, but the second I start recording, suddenly I'm retarded. Anyways, this time I'm just sick.